Welcome to day number 2 of our official math lesson. Today I'll be talking about Unit 1, Lesson 2. Unit 1, Lesson 2, and the title of it is Analyzing Graph. And today's date is Tuesday, August 25th. Our I can statement for today: I can represent and interpret data using whole numbers. I can represent and interpret data using whole numbers, and the standard associated with that is NC4, MD4. Our essential question, same as yesterday: how is data useful in real-world situations? How is data useful in real-world situations? After today's lesson, we'll be able to add to the answers that we already have for that question. For learning targets, today you're going to be able to interpret a bar graph and line plot and discuss the benefits of each. You'll also be able to create a line plot given specific data. I notice, I wonder. Today, you're going to participate in what I call a gallery walk. During this time, you're going to be able to reflect on the different graphs that I'm going to actually put up on the screen. And we're going to talk about it in our Google Meet. You're going to be able to talk about it, what you notice and what you wonder for each one, and type it inside of the chat bar. Our first graph, graph number 1, what I would like for you to do, if you're watching a recorded video, is go on and pause, take a really good look at the first graph, and think about what do you notice about it and what do you wonder about it. What do you notice and what do you wonder about this particular graph? And for those of you in the live session, I want you to type it into the chat bar. Type it into the chat bar, what you notice about it and what you wonder about graph number 1. So we're going to pause for just a couple minutes to give you an opportunity to kind of look it over really, really good. Okay, so moving on to this second graph. This is graph number 2. So we're going to do the same thing. I want you to take a really good look at it and think about what do you notice about it and what do you wonder about it. What do you notice about this one and what do you wonder about it? It's graph number 2. If you're watching the recorded video, you are going to pause it and discuss what you notice about it and what you wonder about it. Graph number 3 in our gallery walk. We're going to do the same thing. What do you notice about this? What do you wonder about it? And for our live sessions, we're actually taking the time for each student to type into the chat box what you notice and what you wonder about it. You're going to type that into the chat box. Those of you on the watching a recording of it, whether you're at home or you're rewatching it, you're thinking about it. You're thinking about exactly what you wonder about it, what you notice about it. And we've got one more graph here. This is going to be graph number 4. Same thing. What do you notice about it? What do you wonder about it? All right. So moving on to our next slide here, line plot. The term line plot is sort of a fairly new type of graph or a way to show data. So we're going to explore a little bit more about line graphs here in the next few minutes. So these are all of our graphs put together here, the 4 that we just saw in our gallery walk. So we're going to have a discussion about it. The line plot shows the frequency of data on a number line. So a line plot such as this shows the frequency of data on a number line. And this is going to be a line plot right here, and this is also a line plot. So how does the line plot display differently than the bar graph? So how does the line plot display data differently than the bar graph? And our other question is, how is the data displayed in a different way? How is the data displayed in a similar way? What are the X's for? What are the X's for? What do they actually mean? What is the value of each X? Could that value change? In your own words, what is a line plot? In your own words, what is a line plot? And those of you on the live session, we're going to be typing that into the chat bar. We're going to be typing those answers into the chat bar. Our next slide here, are you ready to see the actual graphs? Now, what you saw before were basically shell of graphs, and they were not showing all the complete data. So now we're going to look at the actual graphs. And the actual graphs show, they're labeled, they show numbers, they show more information. And depending on the purpose of one type of graph, depending on their purpose, one type of graph may be more beneficial than the other graph, depending on what the purpose is. For example, with snowfall in different cities, if you want to compare snowfall in different cities, then the bar graph would be the best graph. If you wanted to compare snowfall, the bar graph would be the best graph. If you wanted to see which snowfall amount occurred the most, the line plot would be better. This tells how often something occurred or how many. And as I click through, you're going to see some arrows kind of showing up, and it's giving specific information about the labels. So you got right here, this is going to be the title, amount of vegetables produced in our school. And for this one down here, for the line plot, you've got the title, which is amount of vegetables produced in our school garden. And at the very bottom right here is the actual key. And over here on this next one, you've got the vegetables. You got the different vegetables right there. The ID of the vegetables. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different types of vegetables that are showing. And over here on this side, you're going to see the amount. These are the amount of vegetables. It's giving you specific numbers on this side. It starts with 0, and they're actually in order. It's going all the way up to 10. And at the bottom down here, you've got amount. At the very bottom, you got amount. It shows X equals 1 vegetable. So what do you notice about the amounts, and what else do you notice, wonder about these graphs? So now that you have actually seen the completed graphs, what do you notice about the actual amounts, and what else do you notice and wonder about these particular graphs? And on our next slide, you've got, of course, the title. It's giving the date up there, January 17, 2018. Snowfall total in inches. And another title listed right here above the line plot. January 17, 2018, snowfall total in inches. And again, you got the identification of the actual cities. Durham, Raleigh, Cary, Mebane, Clayton, and other ones right here. At the bottom, there's the actual key. X equals one city. And that may be cut off just a little bit, but it says X equals one city. And of course, on this side, you got the amounts. And moving on to our next slide, you've got our independent practice, which if you don't complete it, it's going to be assigned as homework. And this can be located on page 9 in your math binder. So most of us, I believe by this point, you should have your math binder, which was included in the supplies that was picked up from school by your parents. So this is independent practice. Also, it's going to be homework if we don't finish it. It's on page number 9. And it's going to be assigned in Google Classroom for you. It's going to be assigned in Google Classroom. And the instructions for me are going to be for you to write down, show your work on a separate sheet of paper. Show your work on a separate sheet of paper. Take a picture of it, upload it, and submit it in the actual assignment. Those instructions are going to be included in the Google Classroom assignment. Okay, let's take a look at number 1 before we end our session here. Okay, the number of it is line plots homework. Analyze the line plot below to answer the questions that follow. Now up here you got a date, January 17, 2018, snowfall totals in inches. Number 1 says, which snowfall amounts were most popular? Which snowfall amounts were most popular? So with this line plot, basically you're looking at the line and you are going to see which one of these has the most X's located on them. Which one of these have the most X's located at any particular number? So let's go down this line right here. Let's stop at 1. It's showing 2. Right here is showing 4. I'm sorry, showing 1 X. Right here is showing 3 X's. Here is showing 1. 7 is showing 1. 10 is showing 3 X's. So you've got 2 of them that's showing 3 X's. It's going to be 5 inches and 10 inches. So the snowfall amounts that were the most popular are the 5 inches with 3 times, and the 10 inches with 3 times. Okay, so that's going to be the answer to number 1. So for the rest of your practice and for your homework, if you don't finish it during the rest of the live session, is to complete the rest of the problems on this page.